Behold this epic earthwork by the American sculptor Harvey Fite. It's massive, it's lyrical, and it took the artist over half his lifetime to create. For decades, Fite struggled to think of a suitable title for his ever-evolving artwork until the name Opus 40 came to him. Opus meaning work in Latin, and a nod to its faintly musical composition, and 40 because, all told, he estimated that it would take him 40 years to complete his masterpiece. There's a lot to appreciate here. The scope and the craftsmanship of the structure itself, but also the fortitude and the patience required to realize something of this magnitude. This monumental art destination in Saugerties, New York, is constructed almost entirely of durable bluestone, and that's because once upon a time, this was an active bluestone quarry. In the 19th century, this whole region at the foot of the Catskill Mountains was dotted with quarries, which supplied stones that paved the streets of New York City and the state capital of Albany. They thrived with thousands of people in their employ until the 20th century, when concrete became the preferred substrate for our cities. Eventually, the quarries became obsolete. In 1938, when Fite purchased the land here for a mere $376.25, it was essentially useless, with heaps of abandoned bluestones strewn about. But Fite had a valuable vision for its revival. He sculpted every bit of Opus 40 with traditional quarriers' hand tools, hammers, chisels, and the like, exhibited here in the Quarrymen's Museum, which Fite built on the property as a kind of tribute to the trade. But he assembled the sculpture without any mortar or cement to hold it all together. His technique was derived from an ancient masonry method that was notably used by the Maya. In western Honduras, a team of archaeologists had assembled to restore the ruins of Copan, a great city that flourished between around the 3rd and the 10th century, coinciding with the so-called classic period of Maya civilization. In 1938, the same year that Fite acquired the land here, he received an invitation to join the crew down in Central America. His role was to lend his prowess as a sculptor to the reconstruction of this historic metropolis. According to the dry stone technique that Fite observed in Maya architecture, flat slabs of stone are carefully layered on top of one another. Then, these horizontal stone keys are strategically placed to reinforce the structure, so there's no need for a fixative, it's just stone. Plus, the space between the stones allows for the free flow of water, which makes it less vulnerable to the elements.
So here at Opus 40, for this phase of restoration, we're just rebuilding a section of wall here that was in danger of collapsing. And so we had to take it down and we're rebuilding it from scratch. So the way the quarry operation worked is they'd be, in this case, the material that they're looking for starts at this level. That's where the good stone was. Everything above it is about 8 or 9 feet was basically waste rock. And so they blast that off, and using a derrick, they would take that and swing it over and dump it over there. And that's what formed the pile that then Harvey Fite built Opus 40 sculpture on. And that was the material that he was working with. A couple key principles that we use when we're building. The stones all go length in. So any rock that you have in the face of the wall, you're gonna see the end of the stone. And it's very, very important. You can think of a stack of firewood and you see the ends of all the pieces. It's the same principle with a stone wall. We want to cross all the joints, so there shouldn't be any vertical seams going up to the wall. Each joint is crossed by the stone above it. And then, as I mentioned before, having the through stones that tie deep into the wall is absolutely crucial for a wall of this scale.
years, what Fite envisaged was actually an outdoor sculpture gallery for his figurative artworks. But over time, he realized that what he had been building all along was the artwork. An opus this grand required a dramatic crescendo, and Fite found it in this 14-foot monolith. He discovered this 9-ton stone in a nearby stream. Somehow, its inconceivable mass was only one detail that he had to contend with. It was just long enough to bridge 2 property lines, and naturally, one of the owners, as it were, demanded an unreasonable sum of money for it. So Fite patiently waited for over a decade. Finally, in 1964, he was given the green light to excavate this colossal stone. He initially thought to carve it, but ultimately decided to just leave it be. A monument to the intrinsic beauty of nature, unaltered. One of the most fascinating attributes of stone is the way it tells the story of its primeval environment. Look closely around here, and you might just spot an ancient relic, glacial striations, and the fossilized imprints of long-gone plants and dried-up streams. In 1966, Fite began construction on the amphitheater here, which he envisioned becoming one of the nation's premier performance venues. Fite was a modern Renaissance man. He was an interpretive dancer in his youth, and later he pursued law, theology, and theater before teaching sculpture and drama at Bard College just across the Hudson River. Sculpture eventually seduced him away from acting, but he still clearly respected the craft. He was so ambitious, though, that he was distracted by new ideas for Opus 40, and he would never see it finished. In 1976, 37 years into his 40-year project, Fite suffered a fatal accident. His lawnmower malfunctioned and lurched over the edge, tragically ending the artist's life at the age of 72. Even in its technically unfinished state, Opus 40 stands in complete harmony with the peaks and valleys of the terrain, as Fite intended. And the artwork itself comprises only 6.5 of the 63 acres belonging to what's now the Opus 40 Sculpture Park and Museum. So there's plenty of space to wander and meditate, indulge in a leisurely picnic, and commune with this inspiring environment. Opus 40 is often likened to Stonehenge. In a way, it's a befitting comparison, given that this type of craftsmanship in stone, when carried out with care, can last for millennia. So with a little help from master masons, we can enjoy Fite's profound labor of love for many years to come. A quick 15-minute drive from Opus 40 will deliver you right into the heart of Saugerties, with its sleepy town charm and quaint main street lined with lovely shops and eateries. But a beautiful day like this calls for some time spent outdoors, too. This is the Saugerties Lighthouse, a landmark beacon dating to 1869. A brief half-mile stroll along a picturesque nature trail yields this rewarding view where the Esopus Creek converges with the Hudson River. Inside, a small museum in what was formerly a bedroom documents the history of this particular lighthouse and commemorates the general maritime history and culture of the Hudson Valley region. In the summer, local docents offer brief guided tours, and you can even stay here overnight for a unique bed and breakfast experience. Scenic Saugerties is situated between the Hudson River and the Catskill Mountains, two natural wonders that have beckoned artists for centuries. Well before Harvey Fite came up here, Thomas Cole, the de facto founder of what became known as the Hudson River School of Painting, fell deeply in love with this area, happily settling in Catskill just a little farther north. And right across the Hudson River in the town of Hudson, practically mirroring Cole's home and studio, his student, Frederick Edwin Church, built a wild Victorian mansion, which he called Olana. Both artists' homes are significant art destinations that are very much worth a visit. So Harvey Fite may have pretty much single-handedly built Opus 40, but he wasn't alone in his desire to create something beautiful and long-lasting, inspired by and in dialogue with his majestic environment. He belongs to a legacy of noble artists who have done the same in their own way. There's just something about the Catskills, something in the water, the air, and evidently in the stone.